Hey everyone, and welcome back to OntarioCyrptids. I put up my first YouTube shorts a couple of days ago. It's the only time my phone has taken a decent video of the moon. Most of the time, it just looks like a flashlight sort of light. It's not crisp. This one is pretty crisp. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy. If you take the time to view it, please give me a thumbs up. I'm going to try and put one or two up a week. Let's see how that goes. Today I have two encounter stories that I would like to share. The first one is in keeping with our spooky October theme. As I stated at the beginning of October, I'm going to tell one spooky encounter story for the entire month of October, and I hope you guys all enjoy. Okay, if you have an encounter story that you would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story with like-minded people. Go grab yourself a beverage and get cozy in your favorite spot and sit back and relax. Okay, so this first one takes place April 15th of 1987, and it takes place in Erie County and Lorain County, Ohio. The nearest city is Vermilion, so Vermilion crosses two counties. I kind of find that unusual, but you guys can let me know if that is common. This first story comes from a Reddit user by the name of Poster1. So I'm just going to stick to the first names that are here in this story. I am not going to state the last names, which are given. Okay, let's get started. In the early morning hours of April 15th, 1987, my cousin Daryl and friend Eugene were at my home in Vermilion, Ohio. We had shut off all the lights and were going to tell ghost stories. Eugene got scared and said he didn't want to, but we convinced him otherwise. Before the first ghost story was to be shared, my cousin asked me to look at the staircase at the far wall. He was seeing a red laser dot on what looked like the fourth step area on that wall. Sure enough, I could also see it. Eugene viewed it as well and was petrified, demanded that the lights be turned on. Before I turned on the lights, I walked to the red laser dot and couldn't understand how it was there. When I turned the lights on, it disappeared, and Eugene is now running for the front door, desperate to leave. My cousin and I grabbed him and calmed him down somewhat, explaining that the red laser dot must have come from some prankster outside of one of the windows. We decided to shut all the curtains and hang blankets over the curtain rods to make sure absolutely nothing could shine through. We then turned off the lights and sat to wait and see if the red laser dot would reappear. After about 30 seconds, it did. We were completely stunned, as it appeared in the same exact place on the wall by the fourth step. We stared at it now, just wondering what in the world was going on. A few seconds later, a 6-foot red laser beam shot out from that very wall, went across the room at a dramatic speed and disappeared at my cousin Daryl's head, who was sitting on a couch at the opposite wall about 25 feet away. The next thing we knew, there was something shadowy dark standing on the left side of the 25-inch console television screen. For you younger folks, a tube-type screen could still emit a very slight light even up to 5 minutes after shutting the TV off. The shadowy figure then runs up the stairs 2 steps at a time and disappeared into the upstairs bathroom. Yes, we were scared as hell, but we were also very curious. Kind of stupid, right? Next, we saw the red laser dot reappear, but this time it was floating in the air above the staircase. It would float for a while, and it was almost hypnotic to me. I snapped and said, "We should call Aunt Annie, Daryl's mom." Aunt Annie answered the phone, and we were all excitedly explaining to her this phenomenon. She didn't act surprised, but couldn't explain it either. She told us that 10 years earlier she had seen something like that right before Daryl's grandmother died, Aunt Annie's mother-in-law. The red laser light was still floating. We hung up with Aunt Annie, and soon after, different colored laser lights appeared and was floating around us just like the red one. They were yellow, blue, and green. Amazed, we started talking to these floating laser-like dots, asking them where they were from and why they were here. There were no answers. They just kept floating around. Soon, I remember we all grew extremely drowsy and fell asleep while these dots were still in the air. It must have been around 2 a.m. when we finally fell asleep. At 7 a.m., the phone rang and woke us. It was Aunt Annie who called to say that Daryl's grandfather had just passed away. All right, so this is the last one for the day. It takes place in October of 2022. We are going to South Carolina, but as you can see from the map, the user did not want to give the specific location away. However, they did provide some pictures and a short video, which I will attach in this video. And this is all courtesy of user Mully9657 on Reddit. I don't know if I will ever show anyone this or tell anyone about it. I'm thinking about posting this on Reddit and getting people's opinion. I'm currently in an area in South Carolina. I'm not going to tell where I am because I don't want anyone going there looking. I'm at a father and son camping trip with my church. We are in a small state park and it just got dark around an hour ago. The sun was setting and it was starting to get dark, and I decided to go for a jog on the trails in the park. The park is small, only about 40 acres, and it has a small river running beside it. I went out for my jog and went a good distance from the camping area and came to the end of the trail at the river. Going off to the right of the trail was a very obvious game trail, and I decided to jog down it thinking I can't get lost because of how obvious this trail is. And if I come to a place that isn't easily visible, I would just turn around. I went along and got off the trail and went about 50 feet further into a swamp-like area. There was some dry areas, but mostly mud and water. I had a very bright flashlight with me, and I was shining it around and saw one of those classic cartoon-looking beehives. I saw it and wanted to get closer because I wanted to throw a rock at it to see if I could knock it down. It was about 20 yards ahead of me, and I started walking through it, trying not to step in mud and ruin my sneakers. I got close to it, and behind it, about 15 yards, were 2 trees side by side growing almost in a V shape. I didn't think anything of it and kept looking for something to throw at the beehive, and that's when a pair of eyes reflecting in the light caught my eye, and I looked right between the trees growing in a V. At first I thought it was a very large, black, dirty homeless man with long shaggy hair and a beard staring back at me. After about a second, I realized that this man had a very odd face. His nose was mostly flat, but very large and round at the bottom, and the opening of the nostrils similar to a gorilla. He also had a very large flat lips and appeared not to have a neck. As soon as I saw it and realized that this isn't a person, it stood up. I thought this was a man standing up, but it was something else squatting down. It stood up and looked like it was at least 10 to 12 feet tall and had to be at least 700 or 800 pounds. It had very wide, broad shoulders and was covered in hair and had no neck. As soon as it stood up, I froze in my place, too scared to even breathe. It started to go around the tree towards me, and as soon as it moved, something in my body took over, and I ran like never before. I heard it splashing in the water running as well, and I ran all the way back to the campsite in less than a minute, and it took a few minutes for me to jog to where I was. I got back and I didn't want to scare anyone, so I went and told my dad what happened. I'm not a real big dude, but I'm bigger than most people. I don't get scared easily at all, but this is the scariest I have been in all my life, and my dad could tell something was wrong just by looking at me. I told him about it and insisted we have to tell our church leaders about this because there are kids playing in the woods. He said, "We will soon," and to go stay in the tent. He claims nothing is going to come into this campsite, but this thing is so big that if it wanted to, there's not a damn thing anyone here can do about it. Shooting it would just do nothing but piss it off. I'm in the tent crying right now and shakily typing this, so I'm sorry if something doesn't make sense. Before anyone says anything, no, I don't do drugs, and I didn't imagine something. There was something there that is as real as I am. I have no idea how something like this isn't more known, but I will probably never tell anyone, including my mom or girlfriend. No one will ever believe me anyways. They will say I'm lying or I imagine something. I might post this on Reddit because hopefully someone will believe me and can relate, but I need help. There is no way that I will sleep tonight, and I will never go anywhere in this area for the rest of my life. And it will be a long time, if ever, that I go camping again. It's the next day, and a bunch of people were saying to go back and get pictures. I talked a large group of men into going on a walk. I got pictures and will upload them as soon as I figure out how. One thing that I heard about from a lot of other stories is the smell. I, however, did not smell anything bad or unusual for the woods. One thing that did happen, which might be related or might not, it's when I went to sleep last night after reading a bunch of the comments, it calmed me down, enough to where I went to sleep. When I went to sleep, the woods were very loud, crickets and animals and all that stuff out there. However, I woke up about 3 in the morning for a reason that I cannot find and realized that the woods were absolutely silent. No animal, crickets, or game noise at all. I could hear the crackle from the fire 100 feet away from my tent, and a tent beside me whispering about the kayaking trip we were going on today. That tent is greater than 40 feet away from me. The words were absolutely silent, and it just didn't make sense. I'm in the middle of a forest in a state park. It should be very loud. First, I want to say 2 excellent stories. The first one with the red laser lights, or actually in the end, there were multiple colored lights, visiting the grandson. It's almost as though the grandfather was coming to say goodbye. But anyways, very cool and interesting story. This last one here, this one was very intriguing. I did ask the user, Mully9657, what was the expression on the Sasquatch's face. And he said that it didn't look mad. It almost had a blank expression on it when it stood up. I didn't see how it looked when it started walking because it started to go around the tree, and that's when I turned and ran. But very, very interesting story. And Molly, I'm going to have to say that you have encountered something that most people don't have a chance to see. And yes, there are a lot of encounters out there. So if you go back and read some of the stories that I have on this channel, you'll get to hear other folks' encounter with Bigfoot or the Sasquatch people. I also want to thank you for allowing me to share your photos and the videos that you forwarded. It's greatly appreciated. I'm going to be obviously crediting you for all of that. So thank you so much. And I want you to think of one thing. If, like you said, if this creature wanted to enter your camp, it could have done anything it wanted to any one of you. So I don't think he wanted to harm you. If you were at a beehive, maybe it was after the honey. And didn't want you to destroy that magnificent beehive. I couldn't believe the size of that thing when I saw the picture of it. It was absolutely enormous. In any case, thank you so much for allowing me to share your story. Greatly appreciated. Folks, let everybody else know here. Let Molly know your thoughts and what he can do to get over his fear. And most people would say that you would have to actually go back into the forest to get over your fears. But I'm not an expert. We'll let everybody else weigh in and give their opinion on how you can overcome this. That's going to be the end of the stories for today. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. And if these stories reminded you of an encounter that you may have had and would like to share, then please forward your stories to OntarioCyrptids@gmail.com. I would be honored to share your story on this channel. Thank you guys again for listening until the end. I truly appreciate it. I'm also sorry that the furnace kicked in. I hope you guys can't hear it. But please hit that like button on your way out and smash the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. And don't forget to turn on the notifications. I will be doing a stream sometime in October. Time is ticking away. We don't have a lot of time left. It will not be this. Actually, who knows? I may actually decide to stream on what day would that be? October 21st. For now, let's loosely say I'm going to be streaming on October 21st. It's going to start at about 7 p.m. All right, guys, have a great weekend, and I hope to see you all next week right here on Ontario Cryptids.